Welcome to episode 1 or 2. I guess episode inaugural podcast could be 0. Let's call it episode 2. I don't know what I want to call this episode, um, but I have a couple of thoughts. As always, these are completely unscripted. I'm just walking up, hitting record, and talking. It's somewhat of a brain dump, so that in the future I can look back and it's documented what I've done and where I was at, and it gives me an idea of the progress that I'm making moving forward. I think it's important. I think that everyone should do it. I'm not doing it for anybody in particular. If anybody could take value out of it over a long period of time, especially as I get better at doing this kind of stuff, that would be fantastic. So I think today I want to continue about AI, obviously, and agentic coding. So I'm starting to pay off my ignorance tax. When it comes to software development, there is a whole boatload of ignorance tax, where ignorance tax is things that you can't prepare for, that are going to take your time to learn, and you have no choice. So when you're starting a business, there's many things you need to learn. When I was making this podcast studio, I needed to learn how to change light bulbs and light fixtures and light panels, which I didn't know how to do before. And so that's an example of me paying off ignorance tax. When it comes to software engineering, there's such a long list of things that I need to pay ignorance tax for. This week, and specifically last night, I paid off my ignorance tax of some of the production deployment. So I need to do testing. So I learned how to run my infrastructure on my own computer, host it locally, and then let other people access that local hosting so that they can test it out. I needed to seed some demo accounts so that people could sign up and basically fool around on the application. So I did that. I was up till like 4:30 in the morning doing that because it took a long time. I created a CI pipeline for my GitHub workflow so that I can ensure everything's production ready on all the pushes that I make to my main. So that's like pretty much what I've been paying my ignorance tax on. I'm also paying off my ignorance tax of general coding structures. What does an API do? What does a worker do? What does the web folder do? And how do they work together? How does hosting work? Because eventually I'm going to have to, rent out hosting space so that I can host my website without having to host it on my own local computer. I think that's pretty much what I did all this week. I'm not really sure where I'm going with this. But the theme of today for me is the importance of, or maybe the power of, singular focus. I think that in the past, I've tried to do a lot of little things very well, instead of focusing on a small number of things to the highest extent possible. I don't think I ever realized the pace of progress you can make if you dedicate, say, 100 hours in a week to try to learn something or try to build something. What you accomplish in that week is insane. And I think that was an important lesson for me, is as I'm learning to use agentic coding, it becomes the bottleneck becomes time, because I don't need to spend my mental fortitude debugging complex issues. I mean, sometimes I do, but I can focus more on the organization and the management. And well, now I don't have anything else that I really want to talk about, but I also don't want to turn off the episode. So maybe this is a little excerpt for my future self. I've been thinking a lot about the reason why I'm making this podcast, and it's because podcasts have had such a profound influence on my life. I grew up, since I was a pretty small kid. I'm talking even 11 years old, 12 years old, and I'm 25 now. So that's over a decade of basically straight listening to podcasts, because I consume other forms of media, but it's not in the way that other people consume forms of media. I almost primarily watch long form things, and I've derived disproportionate, massive value out of these podcasts throughout my whole life. It's basically it's how I it's it's controlled and determined the trajectory of my entire life. Was watching all these podcasts growing up, for instance, Joe Rogan, and learning about the power of curiosity and and admitting when you know that you're not right or that you don't know something and that you're ignorant of something, or listening to the original Jordan Peterson lecture series that he did at U of T, and he talks about depression and you know the problem with loneliness in young males, etc. And I don't like his new stuff, to be fair, but um, yeah, but thinking a lot about the profound impact that podcasts have had for me, and I just eventually would love to find a way to pay that forward, and podcast by podcast as I get better at preparing for the podcast, because I think that would probably be a good idea, even just to have some talking points. But I think it would be a good idea because in the future, when I get better at it, I really hope that somebody could derive value out of it. So they spend their time, which is the cost, and then what the value that they get is the lessons that they learn. And it might be just, a 10-second excerpt from an episode that's an hour long, but you can derive massive value from that 10-second excerpt. Something might click. And I really hope that I could pay it forward in that type of way, just because of the massive impact that podcasts have had on me. What else? Where do I go from here? I figured this should always be raw. I don't want to make cuts. I don't want to make this fake at all. This is completely raw. This is me. People always ask, what do you talk about on a podcast? Well, I don't have any preparation. I'm just walking in and doing the podcast. And hopefully I will find either a niche, or I'm going to figure out how to do the podcast better. I used to watch Joe Rogan really early on. Like I said, like it's the early 2010s when I was watching him. And his podcast episodes were shit, and they were shorter. And then fast forward 12 years later, he has obviously the biggest podcast in the world, and every episode could be interesting because he's good at it. It's what he's been doing every single day forever. So I think that starting small and consistent over a very, very long period of time is the way to do it. I've been watching a lot of Alex Hormozy videos, for instance, and one of his main points that he always hammers down is when you look at these woefully successful people, why is their content generating, so much viewership and influence? Well, then really ask yourself, well, how long have they been doing it? Why is Dave Ramsey popular amongst financial groups, and popular amongst just working class people? Well, that's because he's been making content and doing radio and making, any, whatever you want to call it. I guess it wasn't content when it was radio, but he's been out there trying to gain influence for 30 years. Of course, if you're consistent for that long, something's going to happen. So I figured I've been thinking about doing podcasts and video shootings for a long time, just to record my raw thoughts in real time. And I think that with enough time, I think that I can really make something out of it. I'll derive obviously massive personal benefit because I'm going to be able to. Well, video is the most raw form. Podcast is the most raw form of, memory. If you take a picture, that's a snapshot into the past of a past event or a memory. A video is just a very clear version of that with context. So I just think that this is a better way to do it than to just take pictures. Obviously, a lot of people are obsessed about taking pictures. Girls love doing that. But for me, I think going forward, this is it. I pay off enough ignorance debt on what I want to talk about. Maybe I come up with a system where it's like I have 3 topics and I, jump into them. Each podcast. Right now, it's hard to talk past 10 minutes or so, unless I really get into something. So let me explain to you why I'm trying to start businesses right now, a business, and why I have completely foregone everything else in my life for this period of time to work every hour of every day. And it's for a higher order goal. So I have been, for probably a decade now, been very scared of the collapse of Western society. And I have, you know, unfortunately been right about the ongoing collapse of what's happening in Western societies, the degradation of culture, um, the massive increase in violence and safety, inflation, and the value that current dollars get you. And obviously, rich people getting rich. Yeah, obviously that's a massive issue. But I believe that for different reasons, and other people don't like that because they think capitalism's bad. But I know that the reason why rich people are getting such big breaks and they can't fail is because they're in bed with the government. And that's not capitalism at all, obviously. And anyways, the reason why I'm doing this is because if we take the time to think about if I take the time to think about what's going to happen 10 or 20 years from now, the way I see it is two classes. You have high class people and you have low class people. And even though there might be more high class people in 20 years from now, say the class of people who are, making lots of money and are wealthy, there's going to be more of them, but there's going to be way more poor people, and there's going to be barely anybody in the middle. And this is just the continuation of the wealth divide. I think that with the current governments in place and the structures that be, the wars that are happening around the world, I don't see a scenario in which there isn't that division of class. And basically that leaves me one choice, which is to acquire enough capital to be part of that protected class. Because I believe this, if you're not part of that protected class, you're going to suffer, and everyone around you might suffer for it. It might sound a little bit dark, but it's just what I believe. I think that, societal collapse, cultural collapse is a cyclical process that takes place over long periods of time. And especially with the acceleration during the period of COVID-19, I think that the direction we're headed in by, 2035, 2040, 2045, you'll see an absolute collapse of Western societies. And the only way you can ensure your fucking survival and your safety specifically is by acquiring lots of capital. Not for the purpose of, oh, I'm rich, I have all this money. It's for the purpose of, for me, it's for the purpose of being able to provide for everybody around me. And the fact that I cannot rely on anybody else to acquire that capital for me. I can't sit back, relax, and say, my parents are going to retire and, I'll have some money from them when I'm older. I can't rely on, my friends getting rich and them hiring me. I can't rely on, luck to get famous and start a brand. I need to do it myself. I have nobody else to depend on. I can't depend on anybody else. And a long goal of mine is to have many children. I believe it's the ultimate purpose for everybody here on earth. And at least that's what I believe. And for me specifically, I can only speak for myself. I really want to grow up and have a family. I want to have a wife and I want to have many kids. And the only world where I would feel comfortable bringing that family up in would be the world in which I spent 15 years acquiring as much capital as I could to be able to facilitate the process of raising a family. Now, I don't think that's been the case forever. I think it's more the case now. Post-World War II, in a society of the United States, of, say, the Canada, you could raise a family on a single income. And it wasn't a bad idea to have kids because things weren't so fucking expensive and so concentrated amongst a very small portion of people in the economy. And so And so, yeah, I think that I have no decision. I have no choice. There just needed to be a moment in my life where I decided to take it into my own hands. And I think that moment was 3 weeks ago when I was shown by a good friend of me the power and capabilities of agentic AI. And I think I stumbled upon it in an important time in my life where I've been spending a boatload of time trying to learn the processes of AI. And since it's such a subjective experience, I have a subjective advantage over many people in utilizing AI. And what agentic coding does is it exacerbates that advantage because I can send out it's like having 50 chat GPTs all at the same time doing different things, but you're able to facilitate them, if that makes sense. That's agentic AI. And that's what it's going to be going forward until something better comes out. But I really feel like I was given this opportunity by God, and I think that I can't pass it up because if I am to die truly happy, I think that there's a few things I need to do, and the only way I can facilitate those things, aka having a family and kids, is by acquiring massive amounts of capital. And the only way I'm going to be able to do that is through business entrepreneurship. Because if I'm trying to climb the corporate ladder, because I've tried to, I've thought about doing this, climbing the corporate ladder in a financial position, and I don't see a reliable route to the amount of capital I need to acquire. So, so I think, so I think I just, I think I just have no choice. So it's going to be one step in front of the other, grinding like crazy until I figure this out. But to anybody out there who feels the same way, I encourage you to take responsibility for your own life because nobody else is going to do it for you. And at the end of the day, no matter, how much you trust other people, you can only depend on yourself, hopefully. I know I can depend on myself, and I'm the only person I know that I can depend on w- without any without any without any concern. Um, so yeah, in preparation for the coming end of Western civilization, it is up to me to acquire enough capital to facilitate a family and to facilitate friends in protecting other people, to build community. I think that the only way I can do these things is acquiring massive amounts of capital. And it sounds like a greedy goal, but it really isn't. It's not what I don't want a bigger car or a bigger boat or in a big house. I actually don't care about any of those things. And you could ask my friends and they would tell you the same thing. I'm doing this for a greater purpose, and that greater purpose is bigger than me. And I think that's the reason why I'm going to succeed when it does happen. So, give me some time. This is 3 episodes in. I shot a bunch more before this, but I'm only releasing these last 3 because I'm just brain dumping. I need to learn how to do this better. Even this podcast took me, probably 10 minutes. I don't even know how long to get warmed up to get to the main point of what I'm trying to say. And yeah, I'm slowly going to pay off ignorance tax bit by bit until I make it. And so fuck depending on anybody, and fuck the government, and fuck ultra rich people, and yeah, I think that's just about my thoughts. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I can say. We shot our first podcast here that wasn't us. People paid for the studio. They thought it was great. So I'm quite happy that they enjoyed the space. Yeah. So things one step in front of the other are going. the application that I'm making in the background, which I will spend some time talking about eventually, or maybe I can do a short excerpt or a short little talk here about that. So in the springtime, I was approached by multiple of my friends to do some technical tasks because I'm a technical person, and he runs a business where he runs combines. Combines being you run a 40-yard dash and we record the score and then you compare against other people. But for instance, they run like 6 different tests all on one big field, and you kind of rotate between them in a combine event fashion. And they record test scores, and then that syncs to a leaderboard, and then they do reports after. So you can compare yourself and see where you land and compare to other people. Well, they had a spreadsheet system before that was, the data validation is quite questionable because they had full access to the spreadsheet, the people who were recording the test, which is so fucked up. But anyways, I had created a spreadsheet system where I was basically doing CRUD on the very lowest level on a spreadsheet using formulas and app scripts, which is just JavaScript on the back end, automating things through spreadsheets. And then I found this thing called App Sheets. And on App Sheets, it allows you to hook up basically a makeshift front end to your spreadsheet so that you can CRUD. So you can add information to the spreadsheet, and you can have some minor data validation and some row validation so that they only can see the portions of data that you want them to see in terms of the people who are recording the test, the staff members. So I did this project, and it worked quite well, and they were very happy, and I got paid for it. But when I came across this agentic AI, I was probably making these shitty applications, and the first week just fucking around with it to see, how powerful it was, basically. And I immediately realized, like, this is it. This is it. This is my calling. I am in the best position out of anybody. I have a technical background. I'm a very good systems thinking person. And I have been dedicating my whole life to AI and how to use it for like 2 years now. So who is better positioned than me to use the best and most powerful form of AI? It was just a calling. It was perfect timing. And so I'm like, after a week of making like 5 applications, I didn't do any of the UX. It was just back-end process to make sure that the agentic coding was doing what I thought it was. And it was working. And I'm like, holy shit, like this proof of concept, this is crazy. But it was a proof of concept. And anyways, I decided that I was going to remake my Combine application system, but on an actual web application, and have everything interconnected and have the user interface be usable. Because the problem before is that on app sheets, like the barrier to entry is kind of high. People need to know how to use spreadsheets and do data validation, etc. So it's not like I can, productize that service and make it easy for everybody. Well, now I was like, I have industry specific knowledge. I had paid off my debt ignorance on this one particular project. And so, yeah, I'm like, I'm going to do this. I want to make this application. I know exactly what to do. And I'm like, if I think I can do what I think I can do using AI, which is, 10 orders of magnitude higher than if I didn't have AI, probably even more than that, then I'm going to make this happen. Fast forward 1 week later, I committed so much time. For instance, yesterday, I woke up at 8:30, 8:45. I ran to Tim Hortons to buy coffee. I sat down on my ass and I worked till 4:30 in the morning. And then I woke up 5 hours later and started going at it again. So, needless to say, I am completely fucking locked in on this. I'm making this happen. And so I made this application, and it works fantastically, and I'm doing testing right now and getting ready for production, paying off some of the debt ignorance of software engineering and production level applications. And yeah, this is it. I'm making it happen. Doing something with AI, finally. Before it was like, it's hard to explain to people the power of AI because most people use it for Google. But people understand this power because they're like, how did you made this? This Like, how can one person do that? It's 60,000 lines of code, 65,000 lines of code. It's all TypeScript code too. I'm not just talking about documents. 65,000 lines of TypeScript, which is fucking insane. I wouldn't be able to write that in a week, even if I spent 100 hours, which I did. And anyways, I'm really hoping that this works out. But in the end of the day, it was a proof of concept to show that I was capable of making a project of this magnitude, even though it's not a big magnitude. But for me, it is. It was the greatest proof of concept. And I got massive validation from everybody around me saying, okay, this is legit. If you can make this kind of changes everything. Because what else can I build? I just have to pay off the debt ignorance of the business. And then I can just build it. Because I've paid off right now I'm paying off the debt ignorance of software engineering. So I can utilize all these skills that I spent over this week to create the next application or the next service or the next product or the next business. And yeah. So here we go. This is it. I have no choice anymore. I'm in this. And I'm so fucking excited. I think it's going to be amazing, and I can't wait to have conversations with people on this podcast too. I have so many friends that are so interesting that I want to elicit that and show the world, what a bad but fantastic and hard, but what a hard and grueling situation that I'm in, but what a fantastic group of people that I have around me. I've always been so lucky to have the most amazing friends and family to support me all the way through, no matter what. And that's partly what this podcast is for. I want to show the world, and I want to be able to look back and remember the contributions that everybody around me made so that I can remember, into the future. I think that's so important. It speaks a podcast episode with a friend speaks a million times more volumes about their character than a picture, right? If you can sit down on long form podcasts, that's the purest, most raw form of anything. People get to know you. If I talk to you for 10 minutes, that you're going to learn way more about me than any amount of shorts that you could ever watch that I make, which I haven't made any yet because I don't know how to do content creation, and you could probably tell by the quality of the GoPro that I'm shooting on. Even though there's a GH6 camera behind me, I'm just too lazy to download the file, and I'm cheap, so I don't have very much storage on my laptop, so I can't hold it like the video file. So, yeah, I'm shooting on a damn GoPro, and it looks like shit, but the setup's awesome. So it doesn't matter. It's all about this. You can hear me well. The mic quality's good. So fuck off with the camera quality. It's okay. And then I think to close out this podcast, I'm kind of wondering why people thought ace was some reference to being asexual. To put it out there, ace has nothing to do with being asexual. I am not asexual. ACE stands for Advanced Context Engineering, or you could even say AI Context Engineering, which is it's a method of organizing context to feed an agentic coder to elicit the subjectively best response that you can, because it's always subjective. And so, yeah, let's set the record clear. This has nothing to do with being asexual. But if anybody out there is asexual, that probably fucking sucks. Yeah, that would really suck. But that would be interesting. I would love to talk to somebody who's asexual and try to pick their mind and see, am I really asexual? What does that mean? Anyways, I'm getting off topic here. I am going to give myself the benefit of playing 2 hours of video games tonight because my friends have asked me to, and I think I owe it to them. Maybe I'll say this, like, for the first time in my life, I've always loved playing video games. My friends know this. It's just like my escape from the real world. For the first time in my entire life, I have completely foregone video games. I mean, that doesn't happen. Like, video games over everything for me. I love video games. And so the fact that I've been foregoing video games just to work all night speaks absolute volumes about this trajectory that I'm on. And so, yeah, to Jake from the future, I hope that you look back on this and you see the moment, what this moment meant, and appreciate where you are in the future, because this moment in time is what made it happen. So yeah, don't forget this moment. This is the determining factor of the rest of your life, is this next few years. This is the generational lock-in moment that you need to fucking lock in, buddy. And I'm talking to myself here, but I hope future Jake can see it and appreciate that I did fucking lock in, and I am fucking locking in, and I'm making this happen so that I can facilitate the life that I want in a world that I'm predicting. Thank you. Episode 2 of the ACE podcast. I hope that you enjoy and derive any level of value out of this podcast. Feel free to comment or message me. I would love to talk to anyone. Until next time, probably as soon as I can, if I have another idea. Until next time, peace.